week after I left my marriage, I sat alone on the floor of my grandparents' bedroom. Grandma had just moved out of her beloved home of 60 years. The vast red brick house with emptier furniture, but full of memories. With my back against the wall, I sat in the middle of where their bed had been, light gray carpet imprinted where the frame had been for decades. Across from me, the carpet was dented with where the dresser and desk had been. The floral wallpaper was peeling down here by the baseboard. From my spot on the floor, I gazed out the double windows at the bare January treetops, silhouetted against the cold gray day that matched my mood. It was the first time in months I'd been able to just sit and allow my mind to relax. As I reflected on what had gone awry in my own love story, I thought about my grandparents' love story. Neighbors since grade school, turned post-World War II lovebirds, parents of 9, doting grandparents of 20 and some more, and their legacy as great-grandparents of 11. My cousins and I had grown up in this home away from our own homes. We had numerous cousin sleepovers, at least 5 of us in a bed, full of Grandma's pot roast dinner and Peterson's ice cream. Listening to Grandpa's stories about growing up in the days before refrigerators and cassette tapes. Every family gathering included the soundtrack of my grandfather playing jazz piano. We sang Grace Before Meals to the tune of Edelweiss. Bless our friends, bless our food, bless our family forever. One of my favorite memories was aunts, uncles, and cousins singing the Beatles' When I'm 64 to Grandpa, gathered around the huge avocado green dining room table. When my dad turned 64, Grandpa was no longer with us, but my brother and I led our family to do the same around the same avocado dining room table. The other side of my family is equally musical. Grandma was an accomplished pianist, Grandpa a violinist in a symphony orchestra, one and a flautist, the other a violinist, my uncle a multi-instrumental musician. My mom and I still break into song daily, and whenever more family is around, we can't help but sing in rounds. Mom, Dad, and my brother and I road tripped through the 80s and 90s singing along to cassettes of The Beatles, Tom Chapin, Disney's Beauty and the Beast. My brother and I sang a duet of the Muppets' Rainbow Connection in our grade school talent show. Someday we'll find it, the rainbow connection, the lovers, the dreamers, and me. Childhood was filled with song and its inevitable partner, laughter. In college, I met Matt. He was a DJ, and he made me laugh. We met as student workers while undergrads at DePaul, and a few years after graduation, we were both still working at DePaul. We met up for lunch after passing each other on campus a few times. I was drawn to his entrepreneurial spirit and creative mind. We loved sharing music with each other, and his self-deprecating humor still made me laugh. Lunches turned into dinners, and we were soon dating. A couple years into our relationship, we had just checked into our flight for a long-awaited week-long beach trip to Mexico. Fully in vacation mode, I had turned off my cell phone already. Matt's rang, he answered, and slowly looked at me while saying, "Does she know?" It was my mom. Grandpa passed away last night. After a long illness, the most loving, empathetic, funny, musical patriarch of the Clark family was gone. I had just visited over the weekend. Shit, we just checked in. Can I check out again? Can I go later? What do I do? Mom said, "You should go. You've been looking forward to this. We know you're here in spirit." It was the worst. I wept and grieved for 2 days. The sound of the waves out the window reminded me of my grandparents' summer home in Lake Michigan. Our third night into this no longer really romantic vacation, Matt proposed to me on the beach of Cancun, and I said yes. The next morning, I called Grandma, relieved I had good news to share. "I hope he brings you as much joy and love as Grandpa did to me." The following year, we were married, our reception at DePaul. We were on the dance floor all night with cousins and friends, with a set from DJ Flipside in the middle, complete with fog and lasers. 10 years later, here I sat, on this empty carpeted floor. I grieved for the loss of that marriage and its joyful beginnings. I grieved for what never would be for me, a long, loving marriage like my parents and both sets of grandparents, a family home full of memories that my son could come back to, that his family could come back to. After our son was born, Matt quizzed Grandma on how in the world she had raised 9 kids when one seemed so hard. Already struggling with anxiety, parenthood took it out of him. He stopped socializing, detaching through use and abuse of various substances, cycling through entrepreneurial ideas and endeavors. I was often alone to take care of our son, reading and singing to him at bedtime. I was a 35-year-old mom, working full-time downtown, taking care of a toddler and myself, and someone who was more a roommate than a partner. I was exhausted. At a loss, I started therapy on my own, trying to fix our marriage on my own. Being in our home physically weighed on me. I patchworked a schedule of trusted caregivers for our son so I could surround myself with quality friend and family time, finding solace and guidance. 6 months into therapy, I sat with my grandma and her sisters at my cousin's baby shower. We chatted about the joys of motherhood, grandmotherhood, all the things. Grandma asked, as she always did, "How's Matt?" I started to lie, as I always did. "Fine." But I stopped and instead answered, "Not great, Grandma. In fact, pretty bad." She grabbed my hands in hers. "I know. I pray for him every day. Sometimes I pray for him to be well. Sometimes I pray for him to go to hell." After the initial shock of hearing my super Irish Catholic grandma swear, something in me lifted. She'd given me permission I didn't realize I needed. I didn't have to stay in this marriage that was draining joy from me. I had to leave to be good for me, to be the best for my son. And though I knew he wouldn't see it this way yet, it was best for Matt. We could not be good partners to each other. I shared my plan with my parents and close friends, lined up some legal stuff, packed some boxes. And over a long weekend in January, I left my marriage. I took our son to school while my friends packed a van. I woke Matt up in late morning to say the words I had practiced with my therapist over and over. "I can't be married to you anymore." It was the hardest, worst, and best thing I have ever done in my life. And a week later, I sat on the empty floor of my grandparents' empty bedroom in an empty home full of memories and ghosts, and thought about their love and my broken love and my love for myself and for my son. To honor that love, I endeavored to rekindle my joy. Nearly 5 years later, here I am, on stage at the Park West. I've been promoted at work twice. I've strengthened my friendships and built new ones. I completed a triathlon for the first time 3 weeks ago. Co-parenting is working out way better than marriage. Our son made it through COVID remote learning and excitedly started 4th grade last month. Last year, I told my grandma that she was in my story. She passed away a month into COVID shutdowns. But last month, our family was finally able to gather and celebrate her life and sing and laugh together. And what was to be a temporary divorce move back home with my parents has become permanent. I love watching them grandparent my son. And I treasure this extra time we all have with each other in our home, full of joy and memories.